Welcome into this episode of Coach's Corner. Jordan Woodruff with you. Today's episode brought to you by Heather Cannon Honda, and we're joined by head football coach Justin Roland. And Coach, to start it off, 2-0 for the first time since 2019. It feels good, but the competition is going to step up a little bit this week.
Absolutely. Getting off to a good start's always big. The confidence of the team, the morale of the team. But really, man, to come out of it pretty much injury-free is big as well. But, yeah, you're right. We're about to bite into some meat here pretty quick.
It's amazing to me. I don't know if I've ever seen this, and I played in 8-man football too, so there's a lot of run-up scores, but 119 unanswered points is, I don't care who you're playing, that's pretty unbelievable because usually people will sneak in the end zone. Well, Enid did that first one, but since then, nobody's gotten the end zone, and you guys have put up 119 on offense.
Yeah, I'd say offensively first. You got a good selection of weapons, and spreading it around and getting to the ball is one thing, but getting in there. I had a buddy tell me to score 6-7 touchdowns in a game is hard, no matter how you score them. And so that part's good. Defensively, I think we're starting to get a little bit of an identity of who we are. Now, we'll see for sure once the teams get a little bit tougher, but run and hit, we don't talk about scores at practice. We rarely talk about that part of the game. Just execute your game plan.
Yeah, and the defense doing a great job of getting downhill, it feels like. And that even caused maybe a reason to do some adjustments during the game last week, Will Rogers, because they were able to get the ball outside, maybe take advantage of you guys getting a little too aggressive. But it's always good to get things on film to work on, right, even when you have a blowout win.
There's no doubt. I mean, and we try defensively to stay very close to what our base stuff is so the kids can play fast. But you're 100% right. When you're attack, that's the mindset. Sometimes you got to pull back the reins, but give credit to those two kiddos from Rogers. I mean, 9 and 6 were good players, and we knew they had good speed. If they got on our edge, they could hurt us. So it was good to see that speed before we get into this week's game, and then obviously the games down the road.
The other thing, too, that stood out is different games, different players that are standing out, which is a good thing. I mean, everybody's playing well, but like, for instance, Ryan at the linebacker spot had himself, I thought, a really good game, and I think his confidence is up. And you had Thaden Lee, who had another good game. You think about Hayden White had a great game there at the strong safety spot. Once again, offensively, everybody gets involved. So that's the thing. And it's like, it seems like there's been years where you expect, 3 or 4 guys to be the ones you're talking about most of the time.
Right.
I don't feel like that with this team. I feel like there's 22 guys I could be talking about at any point.
Absolutely, and that's encouraging, right? When you can look at the game and say, hey, Thaden's going to be Thaden, Adriel's going to be Adriel, but we got dudes on our D-line that each week somebody steps up. Linebacking core, each week somebody steps up. Secondary, Mike Hudson doesn't get a lot of publicity playing that free spot, but he's been rock solid. Hondo and Jeremy at corner have been rock solid. So each week, you'd like to kind of get another guy, that becomes a playmaker. I think there's one thing to play within the scheme, and then there's a whole nother element of it where you got to have playmakers, and those kids are showing up. And Ryan Olvera is a kid that, he is a lot like Thaden Lee, where you just set him in motion and he goes, but he's also a big special teams guy. I think he made 6 tackles on kickoff. That's what it takes.
And you talk about your playmakers, but in football, it all boils down to your front and your lines. And this defensive and offensive line, I think, are very, very physical, and that is opening up this chance for these defensive linebackers and your secondary to make plays, and also your offensive playmakers to get some holes and make plays. This line's about as good as we've seen.
No doubt. I think, as far as the O-line goes, you got a lot of games in there. I mean, Blaze has played 30-some-odd games, probably more than that. Javi's a senior, Javi is really, really good. It was unfortunate that we didn't get him back last season until we did, but he's really good. Coop's got a ton of experience in there. And then those young kids on the edge, they're young, but they got good size. They're starting to learn what they're doing. And that just, it opens it up for the backfield to be special on offense. And then up front, D-line across the board, each kiddo is getting better and better each week. Really pleased with Mikey Hinman. He's been playing well. LT, we knew he was going to be good since he was in the 8th grade. And then Dayton Sini, and even if it's not on the stat sheet with Dayton, what he brings in the locker room, every single day, just that solid workerman attitude. And then we got 2 or 3 backups at each of those positions that add to the depth and add to the level. So it's been good.
Yeah, and the other things, you haven't turned the ball over. I mean, early on, doesn't matter your competition. Sometimes you can have a blowout win, you still turn the ball over 3 or 4 times. You haven't done that. And then what I find maybe is impressive too, it's not like you guys have turned the other team over in these blowouts a lot either.
Yeah.
It's like you had to get stops and go down the field. So it's interesting kind of how it works, because usually when you see these blowout wins, especially early in the season, there's a lot of turnovers on the board. Hasn't really been that way.
No, yeah, and I think that's huge, right? When you look back at the games last year that we fell short in, turnovers was always a key, and like I said, it's something that I'm sure Graham and them talk about on a daily basis. It's nothing that I get crazy about, because I think the more you don't even want them thinking about it.
Exactly.
You don't even want to think a running back think about fumbling the football, but good security. And then what I tell our guys defensively is the more bodies we get to the football, the better things are going to happen. So whether that's fumbles or balls in the air, we play a lot of match coverage. So we don't play a lot of QB, eyes on the QB football. But I think those numbers will go up as well as we get into, like we are this Friday, with teams that'll push the ball down the field, maybe give us more opportunities to get picks.
Yeah, and I want to talk special teams. We knew Tucker kicking the ball can be a weapon. We saw that the first game. Didn't get a chance to kick a field goal there. I know the extra points, there's probably some things you want to work on there, as you've given up. There's, I think, 3 misses this year so far, and you want to change that. But you got a punt return for a touchdown on a little reverse. I don't know if that's just one of those things those guys can just do it if they feel like they can do it, but there was a beautiful wall set up and a beautiful piece of running.
No, we start working on that the first week of practice, and of course Jeremy Evans played receiver last year, so those guys never lose that taste for the football. And then it was something that we'd seen on film that we thought we could get it against Enid. It never came up, but we work it every day. We do punt return. We've worked that, and they were like, "Man, coach, let's keep doing it." It's like, man, and it gives the other team something to worry about, and then it gives us an opportunity to create excitement in what can be a stagnant kind of set of events. Special teams can get boring, but no, we had it. We've been working on it for a while. Got the opportunity. You got to have courage to do those kind of things, And so I told them, if you guys feel like you can execute it, let's go. And that's kind of what we did.
And the other thing on special teams, you did a little onside kick, which that's kind of, you putting pressure on that kick team, the kick return team, when you do that, because you got everybody huddled up. At any point you could do it. I remember having that done when we were in high school, and for that, you almost got it. But people ask, well, why do you do that when you're up big and you're going to win the game? But it goes back to something you said even on the punt return. That's putting something on film for other teams to think about, where maybe they can't get in their kick return nearly as fast.
Absolutely. I mean, and when you practice something over and over and over again, and then you get to the game and you don't get to do it, it gets crazy on you. But no, we wanted to get a look at that particular scheme, and then like you said, we do bluff. So now our bluff is real. Every time we bluff, they got to respect it. So it kind of takes their mind off of the other parts of it, or it forces that, like the reverse, it forces them to teach a whole nother part of punt that they normally wouldn't work on. So anytime you can put more stress on them, it's good for you.
Yeah. All right. I want to get into Lawton Mac now, because this will be a bump up in competition. You guys aren't the same team you were last year. They do have a lot of familiar faces that made plays last year in the game they won up here. But like I said, you guys are different. So what can you tell us about Lawton Mac? They got some talent out there. Their quarterback, their running back. They got a nice receiver, a safety who's going to be playing at the U of A. Mm-hmm. So this is a team that is dangerous, and we saw that last year.
No, yeah, they're a strong ball club, and I think Coach Manning's done it for multiple years up there. So they got a level of program that those kids can buy into and feed off of. But yeah, you're 100% right. You know, they're really good at the quarterback position. He can run. You know, seeing him last year. One of the running backs is gone. They bring another kid back that's really good. Shifty, can run. The two wide receivers are huge. I tell them they got elite size. You know, they got elite size for the positions that they play. You know, being 6'3", being 6'4", elite size. Defensively for them, those two kiddos, 2 and 3, are the focal point on their defense. I think they make it go. Where I think they may be a little bit different is up front on the D-line and the O-line, and I think that'll be where the game's decided. You know, obviously they're big-time players. They're going to want to get them the ball. Same for us. But I think the most difference is the two teams up front. That's the most change.
Yeah, and they have played, you could say tougher competition. They played the defending state champions, Elgin, who's a 4A squad. But when you look at that, you know, I think you're at a point, you're kind of ready to see this team. You got tested a little bit early in Enid, but see how this team handles it when they do give up that big play or when they are down a touchdown. I mean, it's time to kind of see where this team's going to fall when the chips are against them.
For sure, and I think the biggest way to combat that is practice hard every day, and we try and do that. We've been doing a good job of executing that. But for sure, you know, what making the adjustments in game when you play a kid that's way faster than you, or a O-line that's a good unit. You know, what are you going to answer the bell? You know, and I think we got quite a few kiddos on our team that are going to answer the bell. And a lot of our guys played against them last year. Mm-hmm. Some of them are freshmen, now they're sophomores, juniors that are seniors, you know. So it's going to be competitive, and I think it's something that we'll cherish. You know, when we go into this week, I always tell our kids, you should look forward to playing the kid that's supposed to go to Arkansas. It tests you, you know, well, where am I at? So we're excited, and of course, it's going to be a good battle.
Well, the other thing, too, is you never know who might be in the stands watching somebody like that, right? And when you got talent. So you got a chance to maybe showcase. They say, hey, we're going to look at this guy. You can't think about that as a player, but at the same time, at any point, you know, playing 6A football, that somebody could be out there, and all of a sudden they take interest in you, and it could change your life, as you know very well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, I think back, you know, my little cousin plays for Stillwater and run for 248 yards, and I think his dad said Tulsa called him the next day, you know. So anytime you get that opportunity, you can go, but you can go back to Ponca City where, you know, Iowa State came to watch Josh Johnson, left with Josh Johnson and Bubba Parker. So you never know who's in the stands, and the way film works now, everybody gets it. You know, there are no more diamonds in the rough, so to speak.
No, there's no hiding the film like Barry Sanders.
No,
right?
Yeah, absolutely not. You know, everybody gets all the film, and I'm hoping there'll be some scouts there, and our kids rise to the occasion.
All right, I want to talk about this real quick because I think it goes back to even when you were playing football and that group that you were a big part of. This Ponca City team hasn't gone undefeated in non-district play since 2005. So we're talking 20 years. I mean, I know you guys aren't necessarily thinking about that, just like you're not thinking about you scored 119 unanswered points. It's all about the next thing. But at the same time, this is an opportunity to do something to give maybe some energy to Ponca City and make a statement, I think, statewide that this isn't the Ponca City team you've seen for the last 20 years.
No, for sure. You know, and it's always, you know, it's a blessing to win them. And then if you happen to lose them, you gotta find out what it was and work on it. But for sure, the kids are excited. The historical stuff hits them like a ton of bricks. You know, they don't, that ain't the stuff they look up on TikTok. You know, so it's always good. As a staff, we're using it as another game to go get better, another game to test ourselves. And, you know, you come out of there 3-0 if you can. You roll into districts with a lot of energy, and we start districts off tough, so it would be good.
Yeah, and the other thing I think with that is first, second game, we've had some tough years in my 10 years calling games where you're playing a really physical Guthrie, at that time some physical Enid teams and such. At this point, about the healthiest this team's been, and we've talked about this. If you can get healthy going in districts, that's going to put you at an advantage that really Ponca City hasn't been in a while, because it seems like you're already down to the second and even third spot sometimes in the past years.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of this game last year, I think we lost our whole secondary in the first quarter. Yeah. So it's injuries is always a thing that you worry about. It at some point it's probably going to rear its head. Mm-hmm. And you just hope you're fortunate on the other side of it. But, no, for sure, man, coming into a game like this and getting ready for what's coming, you always got to weigh it out. You want to win every game, and that's how we'll approach it. But knowing that the bigger test is down the road in districts.
Yeah, and it is a big test. You get through this one, you got Muskogee right around the corner. So, I mean, you can't look ahead. Got to look at this one. But a great opportunity for this team to do something special. And like I said, really, I think make an announcement to the state of Oklahoma that don't sleep on these Wildcats.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's funny. You talk back to 05 and 04 and those teams, and it got so, winning became so normal. Mm-hmm. You didn't even know what the record really was, and I tell our kids a lot, hey, Ponca City will support you. They support winners around here, and they always have. And if you get to a point where you're a winner, they'll come out and they'll support you.
Yeah, and I'll put it this way. There's been some years that weren't good. There's still great support out there from all of you. And now winning, it's just everybody's excited. And like you said, it just brings a different caliber of excitement to football season. So, Coach, best of luck. Long road trip coming up. We'll see you down there on Friday, and let's go see if we can't get this W against Lawton Mac.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Coach Justin Roland. That's going to do it for today's episode of Coach's Corner. It's been brought to you by Heather Cannon Honda. As always, thanks to Chris behind the camera. Jordan Woodruff saying so long, and until next time, go Cats.